Okay, good afternoon, or rather, welcome sa our first lecture on gender and society. Uh, First off, I want to clarify that we will be first discussing the basic concepts of sociology, and then after we have grasped those ideas, concepts, and theories, only then will we uh, delve into the concepts of uh, gender and how it plays its role as a construct in our modern society, right? And of course, the previous historical societies. Anyway, so before we begin, first topic would be the introduction, of course, the theories, perspectives, and so on. And on the second chapter, we'll be discussing on the sociology of gender. Third would be culture. We would be discussing culture, how gender what is affected, or rather, how we portray, how we exercise our our sexuality, no, in the context of our culture and how others do theirs. And we have chapter 4, which is socialization, no. This would be the dynamics of interaction between people, no, and of course ma-insert yun nato dira ang gender. Yes, we have deviancy, family. We have on chapter 7, we have media and technology and its impact on our culture, its impact on our lives from a macro to micro na perspective. And then we have similarities and differences across cultures when it comes to gender. And lastly, we will be tackling gender and behavior. So all in all, we will be having 9 chapters, which would be discussed, of course, by me, since I think it would be impossible nga mag-reporting tano. There are 66 students who are currently enrolled karon sa gender and society, and it would be close to impossible nga mag-meet tang tanan. Imagine 66 students dayon online platform, no. I don't think that effective siya. So what we will be doing is, this is pre-recorded. We'll post it sa channel sa katong payag ni Macapil, and then you can view it at the comfort of your own time. And then what you will do is that while I'm doing the lecture, maminaw mo, and as you can see sa inyong screens, excuse me for this, as you can see sa inyong screen, we have a PowerPoint presentation, no? So you have the truncated version, the shorter versions, and then we'll have the lecture, mga further discussion, further explanation on things, but dili tanan slides or dili tanan slides and dili tanan concept aning PowerPoint will be discussed, because some of it are basically uh, useless, or dili man useless, but redundant na para sa topic. So sige. Anyway, if you will have questions with regards to the discussion, we will have that on the other platforms nato. We have Google Meet, which we will be using. Nakarealize ko nga nindot kayo ang Google Meet. It's effective, yes, but shorter duration lang siguro. No, I experimented with it ganina, and then only students were able to see the link and were able to uh, talk with me in that platform. But anyway, that's a supplementary platform. Atong primary platform would be the YouTube. Diri gikan ang ato ang main reference. And then we have the Facebook nga platform. Dira atong submissions tanan sa files, all files nga requirements para dili kay gubot, right? And na ako'y format ginahatag how you will name your files so that mas sayon. And then we have the Google Classroom. Dito tanan na kong instruction para dili gubot. And by the way, nindot ang Google Classroom because sayon ra ang mas easier ang pag-sort sa students in the platform sa Google Classroom. But ang iyang weakness lang as a platform is lisod maghatag og quizzes dito. As for the quizzes and assignments, expect mugdaghan nga quizzes and assignments, and then expect that all of this or most of these requirements will be in essay form, a critique, a concept paper, or mga inana. Kay lisod mag multiple choice in an online nga platform. And kabalo mo ana, right? So, anyway, so let's go to our topic. Many of you, natingala ko ano because many of you were made to take this subject, gender and society, with the presumption that you have already taken sociology, basic concepts in sociology during your senior high nga years. But then again, daghan sa mga students walay background or on any concept at all sa sociology. That's why we will be going down sa level sa senior high. Yes, we will be going down that level and then we'll move up hantod abot sa mga complex ng mga concept. Anyway, let's start with this one. What is sociology? No, of course, we'll start with a definition. No, on some definitions, no, it says it's from the word sociology is from the word socius, meaning companion. So it would be the study of relationships and such. But in this, gishare na ko ninyong PowerPoint would be the study of group interaction, societies, and social interactions. Well, here's the thing with sociology, right? It is the study of how people interact with other people, how these people interact with the institutions within the societies, right? And this it also implies that there's a relationship between institutions. So this would be people to people, people to institution, and institution to institution interaction. So we interact. Why do we interact? Because the idea is that there is, in any movement, in any given group, dynamics is necessary for that group to survive, right? So there will always be interaction, there will always be relationship. In any given group, if walay interaction, if walay relationship, then that group will not survive. It will disband because wala siya ma-form nga cohesive nga bond with each of its members. And all the more if you have complex institutions, for example, so you have to have people interacting with these institutions so that that society basically is interdependent sa each other, and because of this interdependency, society basically grows, it survives, and then the more it grows, the more it goes cohesive as long as its values are intact. Anyway, we'll deal with that later. So we have interaction and we have relationships. So that's the study of sociology. So what are society and culture? So these are basic definitions. Society is a group of people who, of course, live in a defined geographic area. So that self-explanatory. Interact with one another. Yes, and share a common language. We will be discussing much of this, that having one common language or having a common language is vital to the identity, and it's vital for a society to survive. Imagine uh, if an American, a German, and a Bisaya, we were placed in an isolated island. Imagine that. And the German doesn't know how to speak Bisaya or English. The Bisaya doesn't know how to speak either any of their language. And so what would happen is that there would be chaos, and there would be what a there would be less interaction with them, between them. So uh, that, and you cannot call that one a cohesive group, by the way. Those three people that we have set as an example, because their only bond is the circumstance that they are in one isolated island. But in terms of values, in terms of communication, those aspects, they vary. And so the relationship, or rather, uh, they would not have formed a strong relationship or stable relationship with each other. Okay, so uh, here are levels of analysis in terms of uh, studying society. We have macro level, which analyzes the bigger picture, right? And we have the micro level. It analyzes the dynamics and interaction in a smaller group. But these two are not isolated. They are not divorced from each other, because the micro level somehow has an impact, has an implication towards the macro level, and of course the macro level has an impact towards that of a micro level. An example with this would be, if a law is passed in the Philippines, that would be a macro level phenomenon, right? A law, a national law passed from the national capital region, and so that law would be implemented down to the individual level, down to the barangay sitio level. And so this law would have its effect on how the people in their small communities behave in such a way that it's affected by what was made or what was decided on sa bigger picture. For example, let's just assume, for example, that uh, there would be a law nga ang mangawat putlan og kamot, for example, right? So if you steal something, putlo nimong kamot, your hand will be cut off. What would happen is that, of course, on the larger level, on the macro level, you'd have the policy makers, and it would be implemented down to the communities. For example, what would happen to people, and how would they behave if such law is passed? Of course, walay mangawat, mahadlok. Human rights advocates would be protesting on the streets because of, imagine, just use your imagination for that. Anyway, uh, next would be on culture. So culture would be, this would be the concept which binds society together. Okay, this is the concept that would bind these people. No, as we have an example ganina, the American, the German, and the Bisaya in a deserted island. No, they won't. They would not be sharing a culture. Why? Because it differs. No, so a society has a distinct culture sa iyaha, and that would be what? That would be that concept which would bind the people together. It's the thing that binds the society so that dili siya dispersed, because one thing with society is that we are always negotiating with we're always negotiating with what's new and keeping conservatism and liberalism, right? So we're always trading between that, and we're always at the center of it. So, and at the center of it, at the heart of it, would be the culture. And so we would sway, yes, we would sway to the right, we would sway to be liberal, and we would sway to be conservative, but at the end of the day, it's the culture that would bind the people together. So what would happen if the concept of one's culture is challenged? So one thing that would happen, and that would be, of course, a civil war, no? Uh, Take for example, what's happening karon sa US, no? The killing of George Floyd, but it's not a new thing, right? Uh, Even before nanay slogan nga Black Lives Matter, because grabe ang abuse sa police, sa ilang power, sa ilang authority, especially natungnan nga majority sa ilahang or daghan sa ilahang na na abuse were black people, no? So people of color. So that, and so what happens then is that uh, na tear off ang, or rather na challenge ang values sa tao. Okay, the values on freedom, the values on individual rights, the values on inherent value of a human soul. It was challenged then pag hitabo ato nga mga phenomenon, and so grabe ang gubot. But anyway, it's a more complicated concept, or it's a more complicated phenomenon than what you think ang kanang riots karon sa US. Anyway, so studying patterns, how sociologists view society, we have social imagination, the awareness of relationship between an individual person's behavior and the wider society that shape the person's choices and perception. So it's a vice versa na relationship actually, no, one's behavior and the wider society, because however you see it, right, you will always be affected by the wider society, and the wider society would always be affected by your behavior. So it's a vice versa. Of course, mas dako ang impact sa society, sa culture towards the individual person. But take for example, what if na mo deviate, right? There would be a deviant, mo deviate siya from a common behavior, and so what would happen is that ma-challenge ang borders sa society, and so mutry siya gadapt, mutry siya og adjust sa bag-o. Take for example, sige, na babae magpaupaw, right? Nagpaupaw siya. How would society react to that? Of course, butanta in the Filipino context ng society, that would be something that's very bold. That would be something that's very out of the ordinary phenomenon, right? But how would they react? How would society respond to it, right? So that so the woman's behavior affects society, right? So nakita sila, wow, nagpaupa ang babayan, so they would be shocked. But what if there would be 1,000 women nga magpaupaw, right? How would they react then? Maaaring sila, they would be saying, okay, it's a normal trend, it's a trend, uso na siya ron, so maybe we should accept it. And so, in the next 10 years, what would happen is that deviant behavior would basically become a normal behavior para sa isa ka society, because it was introduced slowly and slowly. And so with the introduction of a new behavior, what would happen is mag-adjust ang borders sa society. So it's stringent, it's strict, right? It's conservative. And so there's a new behavior that may introduce, so i-adjust sa society ang iyahang tolerance to that behavior. Hantod maabot ang point, yes, that mag-negotiate ang society and individual person if what is acceptable. And so mo na sila, for the example of the bald nga babae, then they would have said in 50 years of being bombarded with that behavior, the society would have said nga, sige fine, okay, let's accept that behavior. Okay, normal ra magpaupaw, no, so on and so forth. I think you're getting what I'm trying to say, right? For example, the LGBT na movement, what 50 years ago, any movie nga that shows LGBT nga element in it or homosexual element in it would be castrized. Uy, sa mani, bastos ng salida, and so on and so forth. But what do we have now? We have homosexual nga hosts. We have one of the mga sikat ng mga artista, many mga sikat ng artista that are homosexual. And they are accepted generally. Karon, right? Should it happen 50 years ago? They would be castrized. Why? Because it's not accepted. It's not introduced yet in terms of society. But now they are accepted by majority. We are not talking about morality, whether it's good or bad. We're just seeing it as is, right? So that. So social facts. So social facts. This would be the tidbits, the elements within uh, the society that makes it unique, no, and it also makes society work, and it also creates the boundaries within that society. Laws, right? So the laws that we have, because we have a different culture, by the way, the laws that we have in our country is different. It may be patterned to other countries, but the laws that we have, it's most likely uh, tailored fit for the culture that we have karon. Like for example, even sa western society, western countries, what happened was mm, for example, the same sex marriage, right? And so they have that. But in terms sa atong country, we still see it as something that won't happen in the next 60 years. Why? Because our society dictates that these laws are basically not accepted by the customs of our society. So we have morals, yes, values, yes, the things. These are the what we ascribe to things, right? So these are values. These are the, I wouldn't say price, the how we put a an abstract gauge of something in our society. For example, let me clarify values. For example, would be in our society, we hold the idea of education very valuable to the point that people who did not finish college, medyo ubos atong pananaw, right? So that's what you call values. But it should not be that way, no? Regardless. But then again, because of the value that we have placed on education in Ana, and also we have family, right? So values on family. For example, many Filipinos really would give you an answer of with the question, para kanino ka bumabangon. Of course, you have the answer of family, no? You would not, many Filipinos would not say, or a few Filipinos would say nga they would be waking up in the morning para sa trabaho. No, many of them would say para sa pamilya, right? So religious beliefs, we have that. Customs, fashions, the way we dress, right? The way we express ourselves artistically, it's very different. No, customs, fashions, rituals, and all of the cultural rules that govern social life. So, figuration, the process of simultaneously analyzing the behavior of individuals and the structure in society that shape that behavior. No? So it would be giving giving a an explanation as to why people behave this way, what institutions affect those behaviors, and how those behaviors affect those institutions. So let's go to the history of sociology. No, uh, we won't be discussing them kanin sila because I think it would be sorry kayo sa alingasang department ha pasayloa jud ko. Anyway, these are I think these are importante. No, and not that they're not important, but it would be redundant to explain them. No, so let's go na lang. Let's move forward na lang. So, uh, the growth of the area or the discipline of sociology, of course, nag root yun siya sa industrial revolution. If you are uh, if you are familiar with the industrial revolution, right? That it happened in France and in Europe, right? Especially in Europe, generally in Europe, right? And so, industrial revolution saw the rise of industries, and it saw the rise of metropolitan cities. And so, with that, it also became the hotbed for the discipline of sociology because there were so many changes nga kahitabo during the time. First is increased mobility. No, increased mobility. Why? Because at the turn of the industrial revolution, people were more people value money more than time. So, or rather, time is gold for them, right? So, for example, one of the implications of that would be if malate ka sa trabaho karon, then minusan kag sweldo, right? So, in terms of work and butanta economics, no, so people moved more, no, they were not stagnated in just one place, no. uh, when you're a farmer, of course, no, pre-industrial revolution, you would be what, you would be working on your land, you will harvest what you've planted, what you've sown, and then after that you sell it, and then you work on your land again. But in terms of the industrial revolution, dagan sa mga young people moved away from, yes, it's explained here, no, uh, they moved away from agricultural land into cities, so they sought for the city life during the industrial revolution. So increased mobility with people, so mas daghang interaction, new kinds of employment, so nanatay gitawag nga specialization, no. Before, barbers could uh, could do the surgery sa mga tao, right? It wouldn't be doctors, barbero. But now, with the turn of the industrial revolution, we have seen some significant changes in employment, no. And so we have specializations, no, and not only specializations within specializations. For example, we have cardiopedia ng mga doctors, right? And so that's a specialization within a specialization in itself because first they have medicine. Yes, they would be going to school, no, medical school, and then after that they'd be specializing on uh, pedia, and then after that they specialization within a specialization. Now we have social political upheaval. No, old institutions are uprooted and replaced with something new. Isa ni sa tong nakit-an dira sa France, right? The storming of the Bastille, right? Uh, they they trashed the old government system, and then they made a democratic republic out of the country. And so dito to gi-pattern ng atong governance, right? So it was the rise of the humanism and so on and so forth. Right? Millions of people moved into cities. Many people turned away from their traditional religious belief. During the Industrial Revolution, isa sa mga consequences of that would be people were more inclined towards materialism than religion. And why is that? Because of the changes in the society, right? There would be more needs, and so there would be more demands because there would be more needs, and so people just if you just look at the Western societies, karon, right? People are more leaning towards materialism. What they're more apt to go to work on a Sunday morning than go to church. Whereas atong ang mga, of course, we have medyo old school pa atong society, so we still value that religious belief, no? Anyway, so here are the forerunners of sociology. August Comte, he named he coined the term positivism. It basically means positivism basically means uh, uh, rather you study something scientifically even if it is in the social science, right? So that's positivism, no? You study it in a scientific method even if it's a in the realm of the social sciences because it could be applied, right? Because maybe Comte thought that for for sociology to be respected as a discipline, it has to be scientific. It doesn't have to be haka-haka anymore. Nga naman, because ang may tabuan na what would happen is it wouldn't be respected. It would just be haka-haka. It would just be pseudoscience without the scientific method. And so, here we have the positivist. So, that. Although wala siya na-discuss dira, nag-outline si Auguste Comte og three intellectual development or evolutionary process during the rather between in societies, no? This would be the theological level, metaphysical level, and the scientific or positive level, no? I would be discussing more of that after this video para mas maklaro nato unsa ning perspective ni Auguste Comte, no? Anyway, so let's skip this one. Let's go to one of the most interesting nga tao sa sociology, Karl Marx, no? He believed, no? So he is a German philosopher. If wala mo nakabalo, he gave birth to the idea of communism, no? Medyo against ko ani niya. His ideas were good. They were great iyang ideas. But basically medyo or dili medyo, the idea of Karl Marx is very dangerous. No, it's used by the communist as an ideology in itself. No, iyang ideas. No. Anyway, so Karl Marx believed that there would be a struggle between the social classes over the means of production. There would be resources, and so according to Marx was that society is society is unfair because the rich would basically control all the resources. And so, according to Marx, there would be a struggle between the working class, which of course has nothing and would just want to survive a day, and then we have the ruling class, which holds most of the resources. And so, there would be social change if only mo struggle ang lower class to that. that of the upper class. No, so and with the struggle comes the concept ni Marx of equality. No, that everything should be shared. No, the agriculture sector should be collectivized, meaning collective, even patas tanan, everything. The state would be getting something, and then ang earning silbi sa tanan would be patas. That is what you call equality nga concept ni Karl Marx, and it's not bad. Why? Because basically, if you are born poor in a poor society, you would basically die poor. No, take for example your what you would be going to school, nursing, for example, a BSN, and then yes, you would be graduating. But before ka mo ka-graduate, muskwila sa kag nursing, right? And muskwila sa ka with, of course, with the tuition fee. And yes, mahal siya, right? It's not something to joke about nga binuangan nimo or kalas-kalasan nimo ang tuition fee. Anyway, so you have a very not very but quite expensive nga tuition fee. And so you go to school, and so you graduate, and so after you graduate you go to work, you pass the board, you go to work, and when you go to work you get your salary, no, and you work again so that you get the salary the next time, the same amount of salary. And that's how your life will run, no, according to Marx. It has some truth in it. The poor will be poor, and the rich, of course, they would be getting more rich, and so the resources would be funneled towards the rich. But such inequality is the consequence of free enterprise. Mo lang po. Wala na nakita ni Marx. Or rather, nakita niya but gideny niya that in the world of free enterprise, isa sa consequence would be inequality. There would be rich people and there would be poor people, but such is the consequence of free enterprise. You're free to become what you want to be as long as you work hard for it. No, so you're free to become a nurse in a communist society. No, you can't just follow your dreams. No, you have to follow the state's plan for you. And so that, no. Anyway, at the time he was developing his theories, the Industrial Revolution and the rise of capitalism led to greater disparities in wealth between owners of the factories and workers. Muna yan nabantayan nga medyo unfair. For example, gagmay sweldo ang mga workers while the owners of the factories are getting rich, and medyo less good ang ilang support silang workers. But then again, these people moved out of their farms para mo work into cities because in their perception during the time, of course, medyo mas dako ang opportunity in the cities. Anyway, Marx predicted the inequalities of capitalism would become so extreme that workers would eventually revolt. Mo pa nilang gitagad ron in many societies which basically wala gid siya nahitabo. But in some countries nahitabo siya, like Russia. No, so they overthrow the Tsar, and then they created their own communist society. No, so that Marx's ideas that social conflict leads to change in society is still one of the major theories used in modern sociology. Yes, there would be gitawagan ni conflict, no, conflict that leads to change. It's actually true because in every conflict that society faces, after that given conflict, if the society rise out of that conflict in one piece, basically that society becomes stronger. That society becomes more able to what? To withstand those conflict in the future. Anyway, so we have Herbert Spencer. No, so Spencer rejected much of Comte's philosophy as well as Marx's theory of class struggle, and his support of communism. Instead, Spencer favored the form of government that allowed market forces to control capitalism. No, so to make it simple, no, uh, Spencer believed or argued that society is similar to a living organism. And so, a living organism has parts, right? And these parts work together to create a harmonious relationship with each part, right? It's like a machine, it's like a cog, it's like a bike, or rather imong lawas butang ta, for example. So each part works together so that it could fulfill the goal of the general body. And so you as an individual is not basically free, but yes, you're free, but you're bound towards a function that will, of course, inadvertently give back to the society. No, so inana. So we evolved from, according kang Spencer, is that we evolved from primitive species or societies to industrial societies. And isa lang sa wala nakita ni Spencer would be what happens after industrial societies, right? Would it be a cycle that from primitive to industrial and then balik og primitive, or there could be more beyond the industrial? Wala ta kabalo because in terms of complex societies such as industrial societies, what happens is that some values, some form, some norms are shredded off from society that are deemed to be dili na siya necessary, no? And so because not all systems basically work towards an equilibrium, right? And so dili man ni Carnot engine atong society, it goes down the level of entropy gyud nga chaotic na kayo. The only question is when, right? So that again pasaylo ako sa alingasa nga kuan. Anyway, so that's Spencer, no? Uh, let's go to Emil Durkheim. He believed that sociologists could study objective social facts and said, and yes, we can study social facts in terms of sociology. No, we study society in light of its laws, in light of its culture, its norms, no, the values that we hold, no. We cannot study society just by one movie that we saw. No, we cannot study societies like that because you you should take into consideration all the elements nga naa sa imuhang society or sa other societies. For example, if you want to understand Middle Eastern societies and then you would be watching Hollywood movies, most likely at the end of the film you would be judging many people who live in Middle Eastern countries are terrorists, right? But they're not, no. So basically, you can't have it. You want to understand the society and you just take into account one aspect. No, you take into account all aspects so that you study society. No, and so usahay at some point medyo makakuan lang pud ta nga wait lang class. Anyway, so that no, so we study the social facts. No, uh, isa sa pinakanindot niya nga study would be on the proclivity of societies to become healthy or pathological. Natay gitawag healthy societies. These are societies are that taas ang iyahang quality of life, no? And so we also have pathological societies nga bati og quality ang life if you live there. For example, North Korea, Cuba, Yemen, that's a pathological society. a society, a country torn by war, and we have healthy societies. I cannot say that America, the USA, is a healthy society. It's basically bound towards pathological, or maybe this opinion is a consequence of my ignorance. But cities such as Netherlands, no, Denmark, these are what you call healthy cities. Tagas ang grades sa, rather, tagas ang rating for literacy, high quality of life, dili ka maglisod in term, rather, dili man sa di ka maglisod, but rather, uh, the institutions nga gi-place sa societies around it are institutions that truly help the individual person. No, no. Healthy societies, according kang Durkheim, are stable, while pathological societies experience a breakdown in social norms. There are reports from North Korea that tungod sa kagutom they eat their own pets or they eat rats. No, I mean there's nothing wrong with that. I would not say that's wrong if 'di ba? Whatever floats your boat. Sige, fine. If it helps you live, then you eat rat. No, if you live in such societies. No, so inana. No. He studied social ties with group, no, Durkheim, or social solidarity, no, and also with Durkheim actually studied on suicide, no. Anyway, medyo taas na, no. I will stop there and we'll continue with George Herbert Mead on the next video, no, para at least makuan ninyo, manamnam ninyo, ginagmayo nato, no, wala bitaw tagadali, no, it's summertime, so let's just have fun. No, I hope you're having fun aning online class. It's something new sa ako, and it's something new para sa inyo. So, it's both a learning curve para sa inyo and para sa ako. No, so inana. At least dili lang ta mag ML pirmi, mag Mobile Legends. No, anyway, so that's it for today. Instructions will be given after I post this video. Instructions will be given sa inyong platforms, Facebook, no, on uh, further instructions lang siguro. Sige, that's all. Okay, bye.